Beep, beep, time to go, so hop on the bus. Hey everyone, I'm Donna and you're watching Wanted Adventure Living Abroad. Today we're talking public transportation. More specifically, public transportation in Munich, with a side of some of the little observations that I've made about the public transportation in other cities such as Berlin and Hamburg, and also comparing that with what Mr. German Man has experienced as far as the public transportation goes in the little village outside of Cologne where he's from. Types of transportation. Like I said, time to hop on the bus because the bus is actually the most common transportation system that I have seen around Germany. And that goes for bigger cities like Munich, Hamburg, and Berlin, as well as smaller towns. In fact, the bus is the only mode of public transportation in the village of about 6,000 people that Mr. German Man comes from. But as would be expected, while Munich is home to over 50 bus lines, Mr. German Man's village has just 4, and those buses don't come every 5 to 20 minutes like the buses in the city do, but rather more like once per hour. After the bus, the underground, or U-Bahn, is the next most abundant mode of public transportation in German cities. The U-Bahn lines snake through cities like Munich, Hamburg, Berlin, and Frankfurt. And most of the time, as the name implies, these trains run underground, but sometimes they do run above ground as well. And speaking of above ground trains, Germany also has S-Bahns, which stands for suburban trains in English and Stadtschnellbahn in German, which literally means city quick train. Now for this one, I can really only speak to the S-Bahn lines in Munich because I don't have experience using the S-Bahn in other cities, but basically here in Munich, the S-Bahn extends further out of the city than the U-Bahn does, and therefore it covers more distance. In Munich, for example, the airport is pretty far out from the city center, and there are 2 S-Bahn lines that connect the city with the airport. But watch out when taking the S1 to the airport because that train actually ends up splitting and only the compartment that says on the computer screens on the outside, Airport Flughafen, will bring you to the airport. It's usually the last compartment, but it could sometimes not be that one, so it's just best to check on the screens. Make sure you're in the right part of the train. And then there is the tram. Trams are trains that often go on the same road as the cars. So they're kind of like buses, but on rails. And ding, 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 bonus time. As a bonus, there are also bikes to rent all over the city of Munich. At first, the bikes were only available with the Deutsche Bahn, which is also the company that runs the S-Bahn. But since 2016, the MVG, which is the company that runs the buses, trams, and U-Bahn in Munich, has also installed bike rental stations all over the city. How the heck it's all laid out? As I interpret it, the Munich public transportation network is centered around the S-Bahn and the U-Bahn, which are kind of in a star formation radiating out from the city center. Then the tram and bus lines connect the different U-Bahn and S-Bahn stops throughout the city. But due to this setup, sometimes it can be a little bit inconvenient to get from one point outside of the city center to another point outside of the city center. Unfortunately, this is the case for Mr. German Man going to work when he doesn't ride a bike. Perhaps if there were a direct connection between these 2 points, it would only take like 10 minutes or so to get from one to the other. But what could be like a 10-minute journey ends up taking 30 to 40 minutes because he has to go into the city center and then back out in order to get there with public transportation. The tickets. The public transportation ticket system in German cities confuses the heck out of me. There are day tickets, week tickets, month tickets. which, okay, that's not so confusing, but then there are also tickets for short journeys and long journeys, and you have to know where the journey starts and begins and what's a short journey and what's a long journey. And then there are these so-called Streifenkarte, strip tickets, which you can use part of or all of for longer or shorter journeys, and you can mix and match. And yeah, it just confuses me, and I'm really grateful that now more and more German cities have an app where you can get the ticket on your phone, and you can just put in there where you're leaving from and where you're going to, and it gets you the correct ticket that you need. It's so much easier because also these ticket rules vary in Germany from city to city. So I'm really grateful to have that. That did not exist when I first moved to Germany. And it was really confusing for me to figure out which ticket I needed and how long it was valid for. So instead of me spending time trying to explain it all, I will put a link down in the description box below to the English website on how the tickets work here in Munich. And instead, I will use this video to give some other tips that would have been helpful for me to know when I first visited Germany. First of all, the public transportation in Munich is divided into rings and sections. The rings spread out from the city center, and rings 1 through 4 make up the so-called Innenraum section, the inner district. And as a tourist, I spent most of my time in that inner district. But something good to know, not when going to and from the airport. Like I said before, the Munich airport is actually way outside of the city center. And so when going from the city center to the airport, you actually cross through a lot of rings. So you're going to have to buy a ticket that covers more rings if you want to go from the city center to the airport. And another thing that totally tripped me up when I visited Munich from Prague is that in Prague, the public transportation tickets were by time. So a day ticket in Prague was literally 24 hours. Not the case in Munich. In Munich, you buy a day ticket and it counts for that day and then until 6 a.m. the next day. So it doesn't matter in Munich if you stamp your day ticket at 9 a.m. or 8 p.m. In Munich, your day ticket is valid for that day and until 6 a.m. the next morning. Also, don't forget to stamp your ticket. Usually. Sometimes when you buy, for example, a day ticket, depending on where and how you buy it, sometimes it will print out with the date already there and you can only use it for that day. But for most tickets, you need to stamp them in the little machine in order to validate them. And if you don't do that, you are riding illegally. And what could happen? Well, from time to time, people dressed in normal clothes will suddenly whip out their badges and start checking for tickets on the public transportation. And I believe that nowadays the fee in Munich is 60 euros. So yeah, don't forget to stamp your ticket. And buy a ticket. Don't forget to buy a ticket and don't forget to stamp it. And then there are also tourist tickets that are available. They're valid for a certain number of days and they are available as inner district tickets or whole network tickets. And then with these tickets, you also get a discount at some of the tourist attractions around the city too. So my question for you is, does the city where you live have public transportation? And if so, how complicated is it to buy the right ticket? And for people living in a place without public transportation, do you wish you had it? Please let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope that you enjoyed this video. I will leave links to more information down in the description box below. If you like these videos, please don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. We are creeping towards the 200,000 subscriber milestone. I can't believe it. I'm so excited. This is so amazing. Thank you so much for all the support. When we hit 200,000 subscribers, I'm planning to put out another video in German. That's the plan anyway. So please, if you want to see that video sooner, subscribe and share my videos. Thank you so much. And also a really big thank you very much to our patrons on Patreon who help make these videos possible. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to check out our Patreon page, you can also find a link to that down in the description box below. Until next time, auf Wiedersehen. Also installed bike rentals all over the city. What am I even saying? This is me dancing. Public transportation. Whew.